here today is a sort of an interesting, an overview of a project which is really interesting and which we undertook in India in West Bengal. Today, I would like to take you a sort of a journey how we started recording this endangered chhot bird. So,
in progress.
Just unmute yourself and perfect.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, just go, I think, to your first slide and put on the presentation mode, and this would be good.
Yeah, I will do it now.
Perfect, thank you.
So the project took place in a small village called Mandalgarh. It is a village in the state of Bengal, about roughly 70 to 72 kilometers from the capital city of Kolkata. So let me introduce you first, chhot. So what is chhot? The word itself means runner. And according to Sri Panchanan Mandal, who is a master boat builder, it is popularly known as the king of the waves. Now, why it is called the king of the waves and why it is a runner? So if you see chhot, it have a relative V-shaped hull and a sharp tail. And it is very good at speed in the choppy water due to this particular feature of this particular vessel. Now, the size of this vessel varies from 9 meters to 14 meters, which is a 21 heart, that is the lower arm length, and that's how they basically measure there. So the boat itself is used for fishing currently, but previously it was used as the cargo vessel or as well as the tugboat. So where we find chhot these days, unfortunately, it's not exist except a small village called Deuli, which is the south of the Mandalgarh. The recent report have told us that there are only 4 chhots that have been seen in this village, and they have been seen mostly in under repair context. So if you go to this place, you will see some chhot under repair, and they are all motorized. So why chhot became endangered? Now, there are many reasons, just like other traditional birds. This is also traditional bird that has been affected by the Motorization Act of the vessels in India as well as the rest of the world. But there are some immediate causes why chhot became endangered. And it can relate to this particular corporation, which is the Damodar Valley Corporation activities, which is the corporation founded by the Parliamentary Act, responsible for the infrastructures in the country, like building dams and rail bridges and road bridges. Now, this particular project has an indirect impact on the nature of the river and the currents. The river has become very dynamic because of this. It has changed its course, and it has really become unpredictable and rough. And as a result, what has happened is due to the rough currents, strong tidal currents, there is a sedimentation leading to the development of the shoal area. So Mighty had done an amazing research how this particular river has changed its course as well as its morphology. So in 1973, you can see the river is really deep, whereas recently in 2015, you can see more shoal areas develop and the river has relatively become very shallow. So here is a satellite imagery of the river near Dihimandal, and you can hardly see any water during the low tide. So once we got a chance to cross the river during the high tide, but while coming back, we had a surprise. And the surprise was that we had to walk all the way to the boat. You can see how far it is. It's about a half a mile from from the river banks. So you can see the nature of this particular river, how it has affected the life of the people. And as you'll see, the boat as well. So you may ask how these changes in the river has endangered the chhot. So as I said before, the chhot have a V-shaped hull, and which means it requires a relatively deep water to navigate, which since the Rupnara River has changed a lot, it has become difficult for the boat builders to navigate this particular V-shaped hull. So then the boat builders had to come up with the invention, a sort of a boat that can maintain the speed of the chhot, but at the same time, they can use it in the relatively shallow water. So as a result, the boat builders came up with this invention where they had this the stem of a chhot, but rest of the boat as a round hull, which is a sort of a dinghy. And this is what they call the chhot salti. So consequently, chhot gradually disappeared, giving way for this new type boat. Our master boat builder, Shri Panchanan Mondal, told us that he has not built chhot for the last 30 years. And since we ourselves went there, even we don't know how chhot looked like. And thus began the journey of recording this particular endangered chhot boat. So it was a collaboration between Professor John Cooper, Saurabh Bhattacharya, myself, as well as the Professor Vashit Sinde from Central University of Haryana. We came together in 2021, and we managed to get the Endangered Material Knowledge Program funding for this particular project. So once we got the funding, we got in touch with the boat builders through Saurabh Bhattacharya, and we commissioned them to build a boat so that we can record the step-by-step process of chhot building. So this the site near the Mandalgarh, which is a football ground where we build our chhot, you can see the orange tarpaulin of satellite imagery. That's our site. This is how it looks during the high tide. The water nearly come towards where we actually build our chhot. And this is during the low tide, and this is from looking from the north towards the south. So what was the main goals of this particular project? The idea was to record the step-by-step construction method so that in the future, someone may be able to reconstruct it as it was built today. As well as to document different aspects of boat building, such as the technological, ecological, sociological, cognitive, as well as the ritualistic aspects. And as well as another main goal was to raise the community awareness about the traditional boats. We invited local students, as well as the public was coming all day and every evening mostly to see the boat building process in situ, which was really nice and pleasing. So the methodology we used was video audio recording, we did photography, accurate observations, how the boat building progressing with the help of Saurabh Bhattacharya, who was translating for me and John, and how the things were happening. As well as we did illustrations, we did notes, 3D photogrammetry, and as well as interviews. Most of the time, our methodology was guided by the EMKP guidelines. So principally everything from data management to processing was guided by the grantee guideline. So how the Chhot building basically starts. So it starts with the rituals. It's called a puja. So wherein the master boat builder take a ceremonial bath and then perform puja in front of a small shrine, which is in front of their own house. Here, the stem post is placed in the east, facing east-west direction, and they perform puja, as well as they tie this red knot, and this knot will be there throughout the construction process. So once the puja is done, the stem post and the other timbers are transported to the building site. The timbers which was used in our case was the neem, which is the indica Arjun, terminala Arjuna for keel and planking. We also use choptic for most of the planking. Then we had the frame timbers for Babla and Shai Bilati. Oh, hang on, I missed one thing here. Here is the master builder showing how the curves of the neem they're using for constructing stem and the stern post. So the shape of the timber, they can use it. So the tools, there were general carpentry tools used by the boat builders. Then there were the marking tools. In the marking tools, they used nail with the thread as a plumb bob, as well as the stapling tool, which we will see in the further slides how these tools were used in action. So it all starts with shaping stem and the stern post first. When one person is involved with shaping stern and the stern post, the others are involved in bending, achieving the required bend to the keel. The bending keel and timber is done with this custom-made machine of a bamboos. There are two bending techniques. One is with this custom-made machine where they bend and tie it to the ground, and the other is where they bend and put pegs along the bend to achieve that required bend. So once the bending is achieved, the bended keel is brought and fastened. So it's the first stage is the laying the keel. And as you can see, they use a different scarf for this. And this case, you can see scarf. So once the keel is joined by stem and post, sorry, can you guys hear me?
Sorry, can everyone keep their microphones muted for the talk so that we don't disrupt Zeeshan? Thank you.
So once the stem and the stern post is added to the keel, they add the supporting structure and then start the planking process. So once we have the keel, stem, and stern post, then we start planking. The planking is first, the plank is first checked in the presence of the master boat builder. And it is have the right bend, it is of the right size. And once they have got this right plank, they are placed together with the help of clamp and the levers so that they can check they have achieved the right bend. And once they have confirmed that this particular plank is good to go, they mark it for rebate. So after the marking, they create this rebate. One person is involved in rebating the plank, the other person involved the keel. So once the rebate is created, plank is brought again and place it together with the keel where the joint is required. They attach the clamp, levers, tighten it up, and then start the stapling process. And this is how they step it.
পয়সা আছে কোম্পানি আমাদেরকে বলছে পয়সা নেই কোম্পানির পয়সা না থাকলে
So after stapling, planks look like something like this. Here you can see the staple. Not all are placed in between in the ridge, and some are off. Now there is a reason for this. When the two planks are perfectly meeting together, they place the staples in between the ridge. But when one is off, they put inside that particular plank where the plank is off. So you can see this one on the extreme right, the staple is going inside that particular plank. And here are, and below are some more examples of that. So when they join the parallel planks, I mean the garboard stake and the planks above, they use the sort of L-shaped rivet. But when they join the two different planks to form the stake, they use this V-shaped scarf, V-shaped scarf. In this way, the planking continues. In our case, there were two brothers who were working from the center towards the stem post, and the two brothers who were working from the center to the stern post. Obviously, in the project of the master builder. So the planking continues until the sixth stake. Now, this is something which they were talking about. Once they achieve the sixth stake, it is something important for them. And it is this time when they actually check the bilateral symmetry of the boat. In our case, the boat was going a bit inward towards the port side. So our master boat builder decided to stretch it outside with the help of the clamp and nailing sort of timber in between them. So once the hull is complete, here you can see an important difference, and that is that in this particular boat, you can see the plank or hood ends does not really goes into the stem and the stern post, but they run parallel. Whereas in the most Western Indian Ocean boats, you can see the hood ends go straight into the stem or the stern post. Here is a good example. You can see the two different. Now, once they have fastened with parallel planking at the stem post, the hood ends of this planks are cut off so that they can place the subshear stake. So when they place the subshear stake, you can see the important change. Now this hood end of the subshear stake goes straight into the stem and the stern post, as well as here you can see the staples, they are actually fastened outside, not inside, in most of the hull, they do it from inside. So once they have a subshear stake, there goes the cross beams. And on top of the cross beams goes the shear stake. Now, in this particular shear stake, you will see that it does not go right into the stem and the stern post, but they are merged together and then they are carved. And as well as when they carve this at the stem post, they have this sort of a protrusion carved out. Not sure what it is, but sort of an Adam's apple, or it might be a reminder that boat is an animate object. And when they join this shear stake the two planks that goes together. They use a really complex stuff, which is really difficult to describe by just with pictures, but you can still make a sense of it. This is how it looks. So once they have the shear straight and the beams, all right. So the next stage is to add frames and floor timbers. Now they use this iron rod to create the shape of the frame they require, and they translate that knowledge to this timber where they create a shape, and then they carve the timbers and the floor timbers. So here is how they start from the center, placing the frames as well as the floor timbers, and they run towards the stem or the stern post. The way the timbers are fastened are with the nails, not the staples. And it is done by one person sitting outside, another person sitting inside. And as you can see, the end of the nails, it goes inside the timber, just like the staples. The size of these nails varies, particularly when there is a plank and the timber, they use like 7-inch size nail, but at the keel, they use 8-inch. So here is an interesting observation actually made by John himself, is where we have observed that, you know, most of the frames, there is this gap between the hull and the timber frame. So instead of carving that particular or shaping the frame itself and then fixing it again, they try to, you know, hammer the hull itself towards the frame. Now, they really force the planks towards the frame to achieve that tightness you can see in the second photograph. So in this instance, you know, the shape of the hull, which is preliminary achieved by shell build, is also achieved by the frames as well. Thus questioning this philosophical concept of the frame first, shell first. So just a thing to think about. So once the frames are fastened, there goes the other parts of the boat, such as the inner stringer or shelf, mast step, mast, as well as the overparts, stem deck, stern deck, multipurpose ladder, as well as the wooden post where they tie the rope for anchor and other purposes. So once the other things are added, there also goes an outer string or a rubbing string, which is this nice carving on it. So once the hull is complete and everything is, you know, designed and everything is added, they start the caulking. Now for caulking, they use two different material. One is cotton and the other is a fruit called a gob. It is squashed and it is put into the pot with the river water and leave it there for about 10 to 15 days. And after that, they do the caulking, and the way they do it is really interesting. I think this video will make a more elaborate explanation.
এমনি করে ধরে আস্তে আস্তে করে চেলা করে নিতে হবে। আচ্ছা, প্রত্যেকটা এইভাবে চেলা করলেই যেমন করবে সরু মোটা সবই হবে। আচ্ছা, ঠিক আছে। হ্যাঁ, জল হাত করে আস্তে আস্তে ঘোরাতে হবে। হ্যাঁ, তাহলে ওই রোঁয়াগুলো ভেতরে চলে যাচ্ছে।
So I hope you got an idea how the corking is done. The me explaining, then looking at the stuff is really nice. So propulsion, steering, and anchor. They they made this 4 different oars and 1 steering oar. We use a square sail and as well as anchor. So the sail makers are the different group of people. You can see they're stitching the square sail and as well as the tools they use for stitching it. So after 30 days of construction, we had the boat launching ceremony on 10th November, which was really amazing, pleasing. People from all different parts of the West Bengal visited us, including the officials and the police. So here's the So once the boat is launched, another launching rituals take place. I have been told that the boat is seen among the boat builder as their daughter as they build it. And at the end of the building, they hand the boat to its owner, which is like giving it to the bridegroom. So they adore it with the sari and everything. They're going to give it as a present to the daughter during wedding ceremony. And this is how we experience the launching. So after the launching of the boat and all the rituals, we also had some trial. Here is a video of it. Actually, the boat builders were hesitant to go out. We had all the kids excited.
রাস্তা এইটা দিয়ে ওদিক দিয়ে নেই না ওদিক দিয়ে নয় এইটা এইটা দিয়ে উপরে 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 উঠে হ্যাঁ
So all the villagers were very excited because after 30 years, they were able to see something which is sailing. So we had a good media coverage as well. And it was really pleasing to see Sri Panchanan Mandal looking his work in the newspapers and going international, people commenting, talking. For the first time, I guess, the building community, which is actually been neglected, is been, coming to light. And for the first time, they got the credit which they really deserve. So all this data we have collected, now we are still working with it. Sorry that there was a video clip which had no translation. As you can see, the data is still processing. We are working with the translations and everything. So all this data will be going to the EMKP Collaborative British Museum website. Here's the link, and you will be able to see it open access, and it will be available worldwide. Obviously, the project wouldn't have been a success with all these people who helped us. Obviously, the funders, EMKP, Mundal family, who were really kind and amazing people to work with. People of the Mundal Guard who visit us every evening, talking about their lives and everything and experiences with this particular boat. Government officials, as well as the local police who visited us. Professor Tankeshwar Kumar, the Vice Chancellor of Central University of Haryana, who gave us an opportunity to collaborate with the University of Exeter administrations, taking all this headache of administration part. Really thankful to all these people. Obviously, the John, Doro Bhattacharya, as well as other Sinde, who were really kind enough to work with me. Yeah, thank you. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you very much, Zeeshan. That was really, really fascinating to see, and a great thing to do for research, but also for the local community, as you said. Like, it was really nice to see how everyone participated at the launch, and they looked everyone very interested in, and into the traditional boat that they had there. Yeah, which is very important. We can open now the conversation for any questions or comments that people might have. So feel free to open your cameras or your microphones and ask the question direct to Zeeshan, or if someone cannot do that, just write your question or comment in your chat, and I'll be able to read it out loud. Does anyone have any questions? Costa?
Yes. First of all, thank you for this very excellent presentation. It was amazing. I have a dozen of questions. I am not going to put all of them. What I like to ask is if this kind of technique of a sort of sail-first technique is still alive to other boats in the area, and or it is completely lost for the modern boats, for the new building and new builders of the boats.
You said a shell first, is that right? No, technique. So in terms of shell build, there are traditional boats in India. There are still built the shell first way. And obviously they are all endangered, but they are still ongoing. There are still places where they still build this type of boats.
And the second question is, sorry, the second question is, if they join the planks with these double-banded nails, how they make later on some repair work for the planks?
Yeah, they cut that particular section off, and then they replace that thing with the steppers again.
Again with the same.
I do have that video. I do have that video, but I didn't put it. So basically, if they have this section to be repaired, they're gonna cut that section off, and then place the timber of required size, and then staple against the timber. If that makes sense.
From outside or from the inside? How they the fastening is from outside now.
From if it's a hull, it's done mostly from inside.
And why they put some fastenings inside and some fastenings outside the hull?
It's basically their choice, I guess. I don't know, to be honest. We still need to work out. But we have seen the entire hull is built from inside staple, and only the shear and subshear is stayed outside. I don't know, there might be a scientific reason or no, but that's how they do it.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I hope I answered your question.
Yes, thanks.
No problem. Thank you for your question.
John, feel free to unmute yourself and say your comment or answer.
Thank you very much. It was just a little bit to add, if it's okay, Z, to Kostas.
Yeah, absolutely.
To Kostas' answer. I think in terms of the shell first construction, actually, I mean, if you walk around the area just of the village where we were, people are still building shell first boats that are stapled together. So the kind of basic principles are in a sense the same as we've seen with the building of the Chhot, but the whole form is different for the reasons that Z presented. But they're very much shell first vessels, and they're stapled. So it is going on, just in different types of vessels in the neighborhood.
Yes.
I think on the question of why inside and why outside, yes, we do still have some of the staples, that is, we still have some thinking through to do on this. But essentially, for the what we were calling the parallel planking, so most of the planking up until the kind of subshear strake level, you would have seen on some of the images that there were staples on the outside of the vessel, not very many, very widely spaced apart. I think it's important to point out that these are temporary, and they're removed at the end of the build, and all the permanent ones are on the inside, and the temporary ones seem to be to stop the hull from being over, because it would hinge. Each plank would hinge quite nicely. So in the construction process, there would be a danger that it would be kind of, the hull would be hauled inwards, and these temporary staples resist that from happening. And I think on the other side of things, the staples that remain, the permanent staples on the inside, are kind of fulfilling a sort of a similar long-term function. But as Z says, we do have to think this through. Depending on how they staple the staples in. Also, if they kind of bridge between two planks, it's essentially like a sort of neutral holding sort of operation. But if one of them is driven into the side of an adjacent plank, the idea is that it will press down and push down on one of the planks to kind of ever so slightly shape the hull at a micro level. So there's quite a lot going on with this stapling in all.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. Does anyone else have any questions? I have one question, but I don't want to be the first one to ask. Does anyone else have any comments on this subject?
Another short question. Sorry.
Okay.
How much is the thickness of the plank?
How much? That's an interesting question. I think, Saurabh, do you remember? John?
Sorry?
Can't hear you.
You need to unmute yourself.
How thick is the plank?
Sorry about that. 1 inch, right? And we were allowed to jump in as well.
Yeah. 1 inch. Yeah.
All the measurements are imperial measurements. That's why we're using them. It's not this is not a British imposition here. But it was, but it's quite an old one.
My question was about the timbers, the type of timbers that they're using. I assume they're all locally sourced from the area, right? And do they use the same type of timbers for other types of boats, or this particular boat has to have specific combinations, or?
Oh, that's an interesting question. But most of the time, they build boats of this particular timbers, which the boat builders mentioned to us. So yeah, so they decided that the Choptikrish, which is the Tamania salmon, is the good variety, but there was they were not available, or some there was a problem with it. So they decided to choose Arjun instead. But they all are locally available. You can see them burning while walking in the village.
That's so cool. Just a close to the same questions. You mentioned all the changes with the river that has happened and it affected the use of this boat. Has there been any effects like on the trees themselves? Like you mentioned just something like that there was a problem with a type of tree, but like did they mention anything that they like because of, I don't know, like global warming, like, or something changing in the environment that they have had like problems with the like timber resources for their work? Or
well, this particular problem which I mentioned here, I don't think it's because of the river they had, but it's because of the boat builder and the timber merchant. They had issues with the supply. Not connect directly with that one, but particularly with this kind of a river, they are mostly dealing with obviously the human impact and then combination of climate, the global warming and all this stuff. So yeah, but very limited studies have been done, particularly with this river. I managed to find only 2. But I think we need more this kind of studies to see whether this has really had a great impact on the sources of timbers. Obviously, you can see it has a direct impact on the boat and heritage itself. Yeah.
Of course, yeah, that's very interesting. Feel free to ask your question, Alessandro.
Hello, hi everybody, and hi Dee.
Hi, Alex.
I love all these photos and all these videos. I really
very
enjoyed your project. I have a couple of questions. The first one is I might have missed probably maybe a couple of slides at the beginning. I mean, how old is this technology? I mean, the technology using the staples, or do you have what's the earliest evidence for this use of this technology in the area? And also the other question is, since my understanding is most of the staples are inside the hull, are in board, I mean, do they cover them? Do they protect them with anything? I mean, the staples, they just lay, I don't know, putty, oil or anything just to protect them against the water, or do they leave it, they leave them open like that,
All right, the first question, how old the staple technology is. It's really difficult to tell. There are a couple of previous studies, and they mentioned it's a 17th century. They have recorded the Chhot boat, the name of the Chhot, and I presume that from at least that time we had the staple technology. But how old it is, it's really difficult to tell because we don't really have the evidence. We have to do more research, basically. So it's really difficult. I can't answer your question, sorry. At this stage, but yes, of course, 17th century, we have the mention of this technology. But there are some paintings in Ajanta where they have these parallel planks that run, but they don't have the staple, the illustrations. And so I don't know how useful that painting is in that case. Your second question is related to preservation, if I'm not wrong.
Sorry. Yeah, my second question.
Preservation.
Yeah, it was about basically I was wondering if they put anything on these staples on the inside inboard just to cover them, protect them against the water, or
Maybe very interesting answer, to be honest, because there is a less contact of water inside than outside with the staples. But as far as the timber is concerned, they use the same garb, combination water apply all inside and outside. But as far nothing else we have been recorded, they have been using it apart from this. But as far I can understand what you're saying is that if there are more staples outside, they will be in contact with water. But I think I don't know. There are.
I know that. I mean, they will probably be in contact with water also in the inside. I mean, I know they've been usually like wooden boats leak, and it doesn't matter how you basically fasten them together. So I was wondering if, because I've seen with another technology, using ropes and sewing, the sewing technology. There's like you have a tent, you have evidence of people trying to cover this, just trying to preserve them. Obviously, you're talking about different materials, but also like steel fastening obviously is affected by water, not much as from fresh water from the, but I assume that they're gonna sail in brackish water as well, because they sail near the, between the sea and the river. So I was wondering if actually, there were any evidence of them protecting the staple. So,
but the interesting thing is, whenever they nail it from outside.
Yeah, well,
they use iron nail, but they do it from outside, not from inside.
Yeah. Well, which makes sense. Obviously, you wanna fasten the frames. Yeah. Well, thanks for the answer.
No problem. Thank you. It's a pleasure. You guys
beautiful presentation.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments?
If there is no any other question, I have two more questions.
Go ahead.
Yes, go ahead.
The first is about the ceremonies. I wonder if there is a special meaning of these ceremonies. What is the symbolism of these ceremonies? And the second question, sorry, to put both questions, and the second question is, you mentioned the change of the shape of the boat because of the environmental changes of the river, and especially the bottom and the keel and the shape of the posts. I wonder if this change had any effect on the construction of the boat, on the technique, or on the shape of the planks. If we know that, or if we can guess any kind of different approach to the construction in the older shape of the boat.
Sorry, I'll try to answer your second question first. So it's more technical. If I'm not wrong, what you are trying to get is that, is there any differences between the technology when they adopt it afterwards? I think we tried to construct the chhot itself in the older fashioned way. So we don't know much because we haven't done the comparison with the other types of birds in the region, not even with the chhot salti, which is sort of a hybrid version. So we don't really know unless we do some good research on it. Any differences exist or any changes have been done or implemented. So as far the chhot is concerned, we tried to, we told the boat builders that we want it in the old original fashion way. It should be built in that way. So that's how they have built it, the Mandal family. And that's how we have recorded it. But as far as the changes is concerned, I'm really sorry.
Sorry, I interrupt you, but because of this new shape of the shallow shape and the very curved stem and stern post, this kind of planking, the parallel planking to the keel and the posts, seems easier than to another boat that the joints have an angle.
Yeah.
Just some.
In short, yes. In chhot salti, they have like most of the hull, and the stern post is where they have this sort of parallel planking with the dinghy. And then again at the chhot, they have these plank and hood. They go into the stern post. We do had some traditional boats in this way built, existed when we were doing field work. Yes, John.
Yeah, just to, I'm right in thinking on that pretty much all of the dinghies, the other plank built boats, we saw they all had this parallel planking style, even though they didn't have the same kind of rounded stem and stern post. So that itself is not an innovation, but whether there are other innovations maybe that we haven't observed, because we did literally follow the construction of this one vessel, and so the comparative work has yet to be done. Maybe not by us, but it has to be done.
Yeah. Your first question related to the rituals and the meaning, I think Swarup is the best person to talk about it because he understands the local culture more than myself. So if Swarup is there, if he can answer.
Hello, are you hearing
Hi,
me?
sir. Yes.
Yeah. Actually, in this part of the world, always we think that boat is feminine in character. To the boat builders, they think that they are creating their daughter. And after creation of the boat, that boat builder used to give her daughter to the new family. That is the marriage ceremony, actually. That means the boat builder used to give her daughter to the other family through marriage. So they put those barbarians, then the bangles, and other things like the kumbh, the mirror, and so many other things. So these are all ritual objects of Hindu marriage system. So these are all items here. They put it on top of the stem post are the ritual objects related with the marriage of a daughter. I think it's fine.
Amazing.
That's very interesting.
Very interesting. Yes.
Okay.
Thank
And
you, sir.
I'd like to again just mention that Zeeshan and John, you are talking about the staples only in the inside. Yeah, and for the shear strake and the below, they only put on both sides. They told me that for the newer boat, they don't need any staples on the outside. If it is an older boat, then only they put the staples outside. For the newer boats, they don't need actually any staples in the outer hull. Again, I think this is maybe the reason that all the planks, they use 1 inch in thickness. If they put the staples inside and also the outer side of the hull, I think it will be the weaker portion because the thickness of the wood. Yeah, might be. I do not know actually, but I have seen that the older boats always they put the staples also on the outer side, but not in a very frequent way. Maybe the gap is more. I think I can stop now.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. As well, putting the nails inside means that you leave space for cooking outside.
That's also interesting. Does anyone else have any questions or comments for Zeeshan and the project? No? Okay. In that case, we would like to thank you very, very much for this amazing presentation and the project. Well done to all of you for applying and taking like this huge initiative to record something in that way, because I think it's very important to, as you had in your last slide, to preserve this ancestral knowledge and this sort of older boat building traditions that are so endangered in so many like places around the world. So thank you very much for doing the project and for presenting it to us today. The video is recorded, so it's going to be online on YouTube, so feel free to share the presentation with anyone who couldn't make it today. If you go into the seminar website, the link for the YouTube channel is at the bottom. So thank you very much again for being
Thank you,
here.
Katrina. Thank you, audience.
Thank you.
Thank you very much,
you.
everyone, for coming.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you, Zeeshan, again very much
Thank you.
for all this.